If you want to know why the world always seems like it's going to hell in a handbasket, you have to understand something about waves. That's not a wave, that's a wave. Waves can't sit still, so you can't examine them. You can't really talk about them either because they are subject, verb, and object all at once. Every wave waves a wave until there is no wave left to wave, and then it is nothing. And yet, while they are almost impossible to describe, every bit of information you've ever received, whether light, sound, or chemical pulse, has come to you in a wave. Waves are so fundamental to our understanding of reality that it's tempting to think of them as the foundation of reality. But deep down, things look a lot more like this. So how do we get from the random movements of Brownian motion to the elegant ripples of waves? Every wave begins with a boundary between two bodies. If one body has just a bit more energy than the other, that energy will diffuse across the boundary as random motion. If there's too much energy for random redistribution, then the receiver's equilibrium is overwhelmed, and it starts shipping packets of energy away from the boundary in pulses of wave packets or vortices. This is the source of every wave in the universe and every bit of information you've ever received. It all starts here. Not some guy with a bicycle pump and a pot of water, but this moment, just far enough beyond equilibrium. Whether it is a photon emitted by an electron that has been bumped out of equilibrium, or a sound from a string pushed past its stress limit. The information we have comes from a change in entropy that is too fast for random distribution. These waves allow us to read the past and tell the future, because sound and light travel faster than most energy sources. Our big brains are really good at this, but there's a catch. The inevitable collapse of waves and information makes it feel like the world is falling apart. But before you blame entropy for everything you've lost, remember that entropy can't destroy anything it didn't create. Also remember that everything around you that is not a wave is a cloud, and that most of life happens in clouds so close to equilibrium that they generate no information at all. Part of our addiction to news and novellas comes from the mind trying to fill the gaps between genuine waves. The idea that information has a physical existence and a link with physical reality comes from Darwin. Darwin saw that the form and behavior of a species is determined by the probability that any given member with any given set of characteristics survives long enough to reproduce. The diversity of biological species arises from their freedom to take any form that is not terminally dysfunctional. Boltzmann understood that this was true for every physical body, living or not. The whole is related to its parts by probability alone. The parts can't be determined by deduction from the whole, nor the whole determined by induction from the parts. Every species is a cloud. Shannon discovered that this is true for information as well. The transmission of a message is determined by the probability that any given bit successfully answers any given question. But Pope Francis has no problem with evolution. For him, God is not a widget for filling in missing bits of data between waves. God is the ineffable expanse of being that makes the waves of information possible. Darwin represents the idea that information and the information we have now is not eternal, but in constant flux. It's related by probability to the clouds that generate it. C.P. Snow once said that the second law of thermodynamics was the litmus test of scientific literacy. Shannon discovered that it was the litmus test of all literacy. If you don't understand it now, be patient. Wave come. Wave always come.